Hi.
Okay, so as we talked about in our last meeting, next in the EMDR we go into a phase called preparation, which is what the name suggests. It's us working with you on some skills to make sure that you're able to ground, to breathe. If you need to stop at any point during an EMDR session or pause, we never want you to feel like you're hanging, like, uh-oh, I drudged up all this stuff and now it's time to go. The skills are there for you to use them should the work get intense. So when we met in the first session, you mentioned several skills you already use, like having a yoga practice, a meditation practice. Can you give me just a little more background on your practices and how you use them and what they mean to you?
Um, the yoga, I like to do a lot of the just deep breathing, in through the nose and out through the nose. I like to do some of the vagus nerve stimulation, like leaning back in a chair, putting your arms up, and taking the deep breath. It seems to be an immediate calm down if I'm heightened. I do like using essential oils a lot when I'm doing those things. That tends to be calming.
Do you have a favorite?
Stress away.
Okay.
And pan away.
Do you know what stress away is composed of?
I don't.
Okay. All right.
A whole lot of good stuff.
All the good stuff, yeah. So you also mentioned in your history session that you have a good relationship with animals and with nature. So, for instance, one of the reasons I asked that is if we're done with the session and things really got stirred up and a lot of emotional work got jostled, even if it gets processed, there could still be some after effects where you maybe will feel tired, maybe feel like some of our work will continue after the session. Are your animals somebody you can go home to that provide you with unconditional love and support? Cool. So you said you have 2 dogs and cats too?
2 cats.
What are their names?
Celine is my one dog.
Okay.
Bentley, Zoe, and Aries.
Nice. And do you have a favorite place in nature? Or a favorite type of naturescape that you like to go to?
There's a park, Brady's Run, and there's a stream. There's kind of like a trickly stream that runs down a hillside, and I kind of like going to that area. Anywhere where there's kind of water and trees.
Cool. So have you had any experience in previous therapy with guided imagery or guided meditation?
Yes.
Do you have any guided imagery or guided meditation skills that you like? Can you tell me?
Safe space. I love using a safe space.
Okay.
Usually it's nature.
Okay.
Related. Kind of placing myself there.
Okay.
Next to water.
Okay.
Using the idea of sensory sight. Kind of imagining the smells and sounds.
Nice. All right. So I'll probably run that skill with you so you can teach me about your safe space, and we'll use some of the bilateral dual attention process in EMDR, and I'll explain that to you before we go into it. But before we do that, I also like to use a lot of breath in EMDR because I think sometimes our affect can get really heightened as we process material, and it's nice to be reminded to take those deep breaths as a way to really help us process and stay grounded. So you mentioned the in through the nose, the out through the nose technique, the Ujjayi technique. So I'm wondering if we can review that together. And what I like to do with clients who have a yoga practice is for you to show me how you breathe. And I'm not going to be studying you meticulously. What I hope to do is after watching you breathe a set or two, I'll come in and breathe along with you. So does that sound like a plan? Okay, Jackie, so coming into a posture that works for you to do the breath. And remember, you always have the option to close your eyes or leave them open anytime we do breath or relaxation work. moving in whatever way you feel good. So what are you noticing now?
Relax, calm.
Cool. So I ask that question a lot in EMDR therapy, what are you noticing now? And what that means is really whatever's there. I'm not looking for any particular answer. If relaxed or calm is what you're most aware of, that would be good to report. If it's an image, something you're seeing, something you're thinking, something you're experiencing, you just give me what's most apparent. And if you have questions about that as we go along, you can ask. But just want you to get used to that question. What are you noticing now? So, all right. Anything else from your yoga skill set that may be useful for us in a therapy session, particularly if we have to close down a session or if you're feeling stuck or your affect is getting intense and you want to stop or pause? Any other skills you'd like me to know about that are good go-tos?
The only other one I use regularly is the child's pose.
Okay.
That I go down in.
Yeah, we could do that. If at any point we need it, we have plenty of space, so that's good to know. And I can note that for child's pose. All right, so let's move into your safe, you call it safe place or safe space?
Safe space.
Okay, I want to be sure I use the language that works for you. All right, so when you did your screening, we went over some of the forms of stimulation used in EMDR, and you chose the headphones, the audio stimulation. So I'm going to give you the machine. And before we go into safe space, I'm going to just test out the machine to make sure that the volume is within your range of tolerance. If it's too loud, let me know. If it's too soft, let me know. And for this preparation stage, we try to keep the tones nice and slow. People experience it differently, but we don't want the tones to heighten your anxiety in any way. So I'll just have you do a set for the sake of test. And you can close your eyes or leave them open throughout the process with it. Breath. And what are you noticing?
Warmth.
Okay. We weren't necessarily even doing that with any intention, but I just wanted us to practice the what are you noticing. Okay, so I'm going to invite you to transition to your safe space. So using as much or as little detail as you want as you let yourself go there, I'm hoping you can tell me just a little bit about your safe space.
It's green, very green. There's a hill and lots of trees going up the hill. And the sound of water trickling down the hill.
So I'm going to have you begin our process by simply noticing those things you described to me. I'm going to start the stimulation, and all you have to do, Jacque, is notice. Notice what you described. Take a breath. What are you noticing now, either about your place or in general?
The trees swaying.
So Again, going to this, I'm sorry, space, not place. So notice the tree swaying. Pay attention to that detail. Breath. What are you noticing now? Feeling of calm. So notice, be aware of that feeling of calm. Let's strengthen it. Breath. What are you getting, or what are you noticing now? So Jackie, if I can ask, how do you see yourself in this space? Are you in a place of stillness? Are you doing something? Help me understand that.
Sitting.
Okay, so just notice yourself sitting in this space. Take a breath. What are you noticing?
Peace.
So, Jackie, is there a word or a phrase that you like to use to describe your sacred space? It's something that you can either keep private to yourself or that you can share with me. The key is that we use it like a cue. So if you need to go to your sacred space, this is a word you can invoke to help yourself get there.
Serenity.
Great. So let's notice serenity together with everything you just described for me. Breath. Anything else you're noticing you'd like to share?
Just peace.
So when you're ready, we're going to take our time transitioning from this exercise. I see your eyes are closed, so I'd ask you to let them gently blink open. Really let yourself adjust, transition to the light in the room. Yeah, and if you have any organic movements that you'd like to make, sometimes a nice way to reground after meditative experience. So how you doing? Good. All right, so let's talk a little bit about grounding, because I think that's a vital skill to have when we move forward doing some trauma work. So first of all, do you have a sense of what grounding means? Mm-hmm. Okay, so what generally helps you to ground? Particularly if you've gotten maybe a little floaty with the meditation, or if you've gotten to an area of some intensity, what helps you to ground?
I usually use a light, like a visual light, okay, and then I do from the top of my head, okay, down into the ground. Great.
So you have some experience with that light stream technique too. Great, I'll note that. We don't have to necessarily go through it, but it's good to know that for noting. And I also see you brought a rock with you. Can you show that to me and tell me a little bit about it?
It's a calming rock with a place for your thumb.
Nice.
So I call it the rock shop, which is my favorite place in the world.
Okay.
I use it whenever I'm anxious. I usually have it in my pocket. Uh-huh. So that I have something to be able to calm myself, because it's tactile and I can hold it.
Nice. So when we go into the EMDR reprocessing, a couple options. We can either keep it on this table for you to access it if you need it, or some of my clients like to actually hold it during the reprocessing of the traumatic memories, just to remind them that I'm still here and now, even if we're visiting some other places. So that's completely your choice how you use that. Anything else that you find useful for grounding? It's just helpful for me to kind of have them all listed in case we need to access them.
No, that's usually basically what I do. Any kind of visual of grounding, like
got it,
feet into the ground.
Got it. That's also helpful to know. And then you also mentioned child's pose, the yogic pose that we could use as well. Cool. All right, so have you done any visualizations with the container at all? So do you have a container that you use?
Like a visual one?
A visual container, or an actual one?
A visual one.
Okay. So let's just take about a minute or two to review that with the stimulation. So can you tell me a little bit about your container that you use?
It looks like a box.
Okay.
It's just regular brown box, and it has a lid on it.
Okay, so can you allow that box to come into focus? And as you do, I'll enter us into a few sets of stimulation. Breath. What are you noticing?
Nothing really.
Okay. Anything else detail-wise about your container that really is pronounced?
I use two different boxes in certain situations. One is a clear glass box, and the other one is the brown box.
Okay. Do you have any sense of which box helps you in which situation?
If it's something that's more traumatic, that I don't like to say it's a bad part, but it's not a it's a harder part to handle that I don't want to like visually see, then I'll put it in the brown box.
Okay.
Where if it's a part that I just need to deal with, that I can put in the glass box and shrink down, that I can still see it, then I'll use the glass box.
And that's helpful for me to know when we're in processing, because sometimes people find the memory itself just a little too big to go into the image or worse part. So using that glass box container can help us to create some distance if we need. And then if you want to put a session on pause or we need to close down, the point of containment is not avoidance, as I think you know, but it's just to say, hey, not for today. It needs to kind of stay put away. Then we can use the brown cardboard box. So yeah, good on you for having a sense of the two different ones. And yeah, that's helpful, and we could use that. So anything else you want to go over in terms of preparation skills?
Oh, I think I'm good.
Okay. So during the EMDR itself, or not the EMDR itself, the reprocessing or the traumatic memory itself, you're in control of the whole process. You can tell me to stop or pause at any time if things get too overwhelming. The only caution we give you on that is sometimes if you're in the middle of something and you want to stop, in order to truly reprocess it and work it through, you may have to come back to that point again. So we tell people a lot, I know it's a bit of a cheesy slogan, the easiest way out may be through. And so if you are feeling intensified, you have the right to tell me, hey, I just need to breathe or ground for a moment, but I'm okay to go back in. But if you want to completely stop, I'm going to ask you to give me some kind of stop signal. So do you have a signal that you would like me to know about for stop? We usually tell people to have a physical signal and not just say stop, because sometimes the word stop is part of the memory itself.
Maybe just putting my hand up.
Okay. Yeah, that'll definitely work. All right. So thank you for taking the time today to review the prep skills, and as long as you're feeling up to it, when you come back in the next session, we'll start working on our reprocessing of one of the memories.